Recently, I covered the top 10 buffs I wanted in Scarlet and Violet. But what about the aspects of competitive Pokemon that are too broken? In today's video, I want to break down my top 10 nerfs I want in Scarlet and Violet. These are based on aspects of the Sword and Shield metagame that I felt would be too strong without Dynamax, or aspects of previous generations that would become too strong with Terrasteel. If you guys enjoy the top 10 content and want to see more videos like this, make sure to leave a like on the vid and use the subscribe button to stay up to date on videos like this. Before we begin though, head on over to Mystic Reads where we have another part of New Beginnings. Lucy may have another potential love interest. Who could it be? Also over on Mystic Umbreon Shorts, if we can hit 5k subscribers, I have a special top 5 series that I will be releasing specifically over there. So if that hypes you up, go ahead and drop a sub. Links will be in the description below and in the iCard above. With that said, let's get started on number 10. Starting off our list, we have one of our first move nerfs, being to the move Surging Strikes. Now, while you could consider this basically a nerf for Urshifu Rapid Strike, I wanted to account for the move itself in case it gets a wider distribution this gen. Surging Strikes is a powerful water-type move which guarantees 3 hits, while also guaranteeing you get a critical hit on each side. This move basically does 56 damage per strike after stab, while also ignoring stat boosts to your opponent's defenses. It's so strong, Urshifu actually prefers not using Dynamax just to use this move. A move this powerful to make Dynamaxing Urshifu a handicap needs a nerf. But how do we go about nerfing a move like this? I think the best way to nerf this would be to lower the damage output to only 20 base power per strike. This means after stab and critical hits, each strike only does base 45. This is a fairly big deal, as the total move damage goes down by 33 base power. This should hopefully help when competing against a Dynamax metagame worth of Pokemon. When comparing this move to other guaranteed critical hit moves, it'd still have 2 advantages anyway. The first, being Surging Strikes, would still keep its 100% accuracy, and the other being that this is still a strong way to avoid substitute Pokemon. Hopefully, this will keep Urshifu's signature move strong and noteworthy enough, while also making it a little more balanced going into Generation 9. At number 9 on our list, we have another Urshifu signature move, being Wicked Blow. I do feel these warranted their own separate entries, due to a couple factors regarding what makes Urshifu's single strike more potent. In singles, Urshifu's single signature move has a significantly lower risk against Flame Body, Rough Skin, and Rocky Helmet to name a few things. This move currently also deals 12 more damage than Surging Strikes, and Dark is generally a more potent offensive type in singles. Now that we've established why Wicked Blow is a bit stronger than Surging Strikes, let's figure out how we're going to nerf this move. While I think the initial point of making Wicked Blow stronger to make up for not getting to utilize the multi-hit effect is cool, I think it actually makes Urshifu more deadly than it has to be. I think nerfing the base power to 60, we could make this move significantly more balanced. The benefit of attacking with Wicked Blow can just be that you have less of a risk taking damage from contact-based abilities or items, since taking only 16% by using Wicked Blow versus a Rocky Helmet Pokemon is a strong benefit over the 50% with Surging Strikes. This nerf should be perfect for Wicked Blow going into Scarlet and Violet. Moving away from the Urshifus and onto our number 8 nerf for Scarlet and Violet, we have a nerf for Galarian Darmanitan, being for Guerrilla Tactics. Guerrilla Tactics is an ability new to Generation 8 that basically functions as the ability equivalent of a Choice Band. You'll gain a 1.5 times damage boost to your physical attack. However, you're locked into an attack until you switch Galarian Darmanitan out. This causes Galarian Darmanitan to often run either Choice Band or Choice Scarf, considering you actually no longer have a downside when running either of these items. You're already locking into an attack anyway, so why not just add on another 1.5 times boost for 0 added risk? This has caused Galarian Darmanitan to become an insane breaker even in the Uber's metagame for Sword and Shield. With an ability this strong offensively speaking, how do we even go about nerfing this ability? I think the best way to start with a nerf for this ability would be nerfing the damage output from a 1.5 times boost to only a 1.3 times boost. This would bring the damage output down to around where a Life Orb sits at, which is at a significant damage reduction for Galarian Darmanitan. While I'm unsure if this makes Galarian Darmanitan suddenly balanced, the damage reduction is a significant amount, which at least is a step in the right direction for Scarlet and Violet. Our number 7 nerf on today's list is our first nerf that applies to more than one Pokemon, which is a nerf for the ability Adaptability. Adaptability increases the damage boost for stab moves from a 1.5 times boost to a 2 times damage boost. This boost will apply for both stab options that a Pokemon has, which can be fairly powerful depending on the type combination a Pokemon with this ability has. Pokemon such as Crawdon and Dragalge, despite having pretty average stats, end up becoming offensive monsters thanks to their increased damage output. The problem here lies with the new mechanic for Generation 9 Pokemon being Terrestrial Pokemon. It seems currently that Terrestrial Pokemon will change their type based on this mechanic, and that any Pokemon in theory could use any type they want to. So a Pokemon such as Crawdon could take advantage of Terrestrial Flying and utilize the signature move Terra Blast to keep a strong flying type move that take advantage of the new typing. The nerf I suggest for this ability is plain and simple. Keep the extra damage boost for only the post-Terrestrial typing. This would be the best way to balance these Pokemon while considering Terrestrial as a mechanic. While this isn't necessarily a nerf, it's a necessary restriction I think we now finally have to address due to how easily Pokemon can change their typings going in the Scarlet and Violet. Coming in at number 6 on our list, we have one of the strongest items in singles being the heavy-duty boots. Heavy-duty boots have become a competitive mainstay of Generation 8, allowing users full immunity to any and all hazards as long as you're holding this item. While boots aren't exactly broken, the fact you can use them on your entire team with little to no drawback is a problem. The only time running boots actually hinders you is if a team ends up never attempting to set hazards at all. But among the singles metagame, even for Generation 8, this is actually still a rare occurrence. I think Heavy Duty Boots has probably one of the simplest nerfs to make among anything on this list, which would be reducing their ability to completely avoid hazards. If we change this from a complete hazard immunity to only taking half from hazards, this still more than warrants this item's usage while no longer being as brain dead. The one exception is Sticky Webs, which would have to keep a full immunity due to a lack of 1 out of 12 stat drops. However, with every damaging hazard, I think if we make the damage output change from full immunity to only half, this would cause Pokemon such as Ho-Oh and Talonflame to still benefit by only taking 25% from Stealth Rocks, while also no longer being an option you're running on every Pokemon with your team just because you don't want to use Rapid Spin or Defog. Number 5 on our list today comes with a few abilities that all basically fall under the same exact umbrella as Steelworker. This includes some noteworthy abilities such as Dragon's Maw, Transistor, and, the best of them all, Water Bubble. While Water Bubble also gives an immunity to burn and a stronger damage boost than Steelworker, Dragon's Maw, or Transistor, the nerf I actually have is the same as all of these, so it felt appropriate to actually mention it here. These abilities would be the easiest way to recreate my worst case scenario for Adaptability, as they'd give you a boost to a type you no longer are associated with. Despite none of these Pokemon currently being very strong, they'd instantly become one of the best Terrestrial users thanks to these abilities giving an extra stab after Terrestrializing. My solution for these is simple. I think we should nerf all of them, including Water Bubble, to only boost the damage by 1.33 times. This might seem like an arbitrary number, but it's actually picked in reference to the damage boost of Fairy Aura and Dark Aura. I figured that it makes no sense why all these abilities boost further than the X and Y cover legends to begin with. And with the Terrastol mechanic now being a thing, it makes even less sense why we should continue leaving these abilities at such an astounding damage boost. Scarlet and Violet have given us the perfect opportunity to finally nerf these over-the-top abilities, and I truly hope they do so in order to avoid having the deal of some incredibly obnoxious Terrastol Pokemon. Moving on to number 4 today, we have another ability being Regenerator. Regenerator is a fairly strong ability that is essential for stall teams that allows their Pokemon to gain 1/3 of their health back after switching back onto the field. This is helpful to allow Pokemon on stall teams to use moves such as Toxic or Knockoff to allow for progress to be made while having a strong recovery option just by switching into something else. Without this ability, teams would be most likely using recovery moves until the opponent wins. The problem comes from heavy-duty boots allowing stall Pokemon to avoid hazards, which were a strong way to combat Regenerator. This combination was in tandem a really broken way for Pokemon such as Toxapex and Tornadus Therian to outlive a majority of Pokemon, or just pivot until you guaranteed the ability to do so. I think the simple way to nerf Regenerator would be to nerf Regenerator to only 25% recovery. The biggest reason for this would be a way when comparing how much Pokemon such as Tornadus Therian recovers back. If you had a way to knock off the Tornadus' boost, it'd at least keep taking as much damage from rocks as it would have recovered from Regenerator. This also in tandem with the heavy-duty boots nerf I suggested earlier would ensure Pokemon such as Ho-Oh would at never best recover but never take damage, even while holding heavy-duty boots if rocks were up. This is also helpful against Pokemon such as Toxapex if it was running something other than boots, as it'd have less recovery when switching in and out. While only 8% may seem like a small deal, it matters more so in the long term when you're switching out 3 or 4 times and gaining back 25 to 33% less after that set of switching. Overall, while a small nerf, I think it's a helpful nerf to Regenerator in Scarlet and Violet. Coming in at number 3 on today's list are 2 of the most insane moves of all time, Vicious Rend and Bolt Beak. While Vicious Rend has a few things over Bolt Beak, such as ground types being immune to it, whereas Vicious Rend's abilities are only immunity based, they're both pretty equally as OP. These are 2 85 BP moves that deal double damage if the user is first to use an attack that turn. If your opponent's slower or even switches out, have fun taking a base 170 attack that's also stab. On top of that, Dracovish has Strong Jaw to boost Vicious Rend. Meanwhile, Dracozult boosts Bolt Beak with Hustle. These moves were strong even in a Dynamax metagame. So I fear what will happen in a metagame where Pokemon aren't gaining a 2 times boost to their HP. In a perfect world, Scarlet and Violet recognized their mistake and cut these moves. I don't see this happening though, so let's think up a nerf instead to balance these moves out. I think the simplest way is changing the damage boost from 2 times to only 1.5 times, which is a significant cut to their damage. One of the biggest reasons Dracovish was banned was due to its ability to 2-hit KO resists with Vicious Rend on Choice Band sets. Dracovish would now actually require some strategy on Choice Band sets, as you need to decide if you could viably use Vicious Rend or Psychic Fangs to handle your opponent's Toxapex. The nerf would be a strong enough damage reduction to both moves that they'd still be viable, while also not being overpowered for the Scarlet and Violet metagame. Up next, we have the second most important nerf for Scarlet and Violet, as well as our final abilities on the list, being Protean and Libero. These abilities, while strong, are not broken currently. Giving Pokemon like Cinderace and Greninja a way to quickly change typing is a strong option to utilize these Pokemon as offensive threats. Not only does every attack they use gain a stab boost, but they also can tailor this ability to gain a resistance or immunity versus your opponent. However, in Scarlet and Violet, these abilities will potentially become some of the strongest abilities, and it all depends how they interact with Terrastal. The biggest concern would be if a Pokemon that's already utilized Terrastal can also utilize these abilities. If a Pokemon with Terrastal was able to change types while using Protean or Libero, it could essentially gain a new type for any typing it wants thanks to Terra Blast. This move changes types after the Terrastal happens, so you could in theory give Greninja a fire move to damage Ferrothorn, or a special ground attack to handle both Heatran and Toxapex at the same time. If Protean and Libero were able to then change types after this, you could see a Terrastal ground Greninja using ice attacks to still handle opposing grass types, while keeping its special ground option for later. This has the potential to become one of, if not the most broken set of abilities in Scarlet and Violet, so I truly hope they get restricted for Generation 9. Now for our final mechanic in need of a nerf in Scarlet and Violet, we have none other than Sun and Rain. These aren't necessarily just the abilities. I'm outright saying we should nerf the mechanics. We already got a turn reduction to only 5 turns for all weathers set by abilities, but these two, especially Rain, have continued to dominate the competitive scene for generations. While playing singles or doubles, I'm sure you can all think of a terrifying Rain or Sun team you've played at one point or another. These weathers will always be the strongest of playstyles, but how can we make them more balanced in Scarlet and Violet? I think if we make the damage boost nerfed from 1.5 times to 1.3 times, this would be a strong push in the right direction. We actually already saw this nerf from Terrain in Generation 8, and I'm genuinely shocked they didn't nerf Weather as well. Weather has always been terrifying in both singles and doubles, so it's not like this can be chalked up to just being a single sting and the Pokemon Company ignoring it because of that. We saw in Generation 8, this nerf to Terrain provided a necessary nerf to the Tapus, and by coincidence the newly introduced Rillaboom before introducing the new moves that benefit from Terrain. And I think considering Rain and Sun are also in need of this nerf going in the Scarlet and Violet. So that's my list of the top 10 nerfs for Scarlet and Violet. If you enjoyed this list, make sure to leave a like on the video and use the subscribe button so you can stay up to date. Also let me know in the comments below what nerfs you'd like to see in Scarlet and Violet, as I'm sure there's a lot of other things you guys may feel deserve a nerf. Hey, it's the outro. Isn't that exciting? Thank you for enjoying another Mystic Umbreon video. We're getting ready to enter the fall, and the final stretch of hype for Scarlet and Violet is here. The excitement for Pokemon's 9th generation is at its peak, and I couldn't be more excited. We've still got plenty to cover before then though, so keep yourselves locked in. If you're interested in more Mystic content, check out my TikTok and Mystic Umbreon Shorts channel. If we get the 10K followers on TikTok, and we're super close, I'll be doing a viewer's choice video. Also, if you're into fanfictions and what ifs, check out Mystic Reads. I offer a ton of creative spoken word content on there, so come and join me. That's all for now. Make sure you subscribe for more fantastic content, and I'll see you next time.